Okay, we are live. We are live. Happy Thursday, Chi fams. So Charles, you just came on. How was your day, man?
Pretty good. Pretty good. I can't complain. I was doing a little bit of repair work today. So yeah, no,
Is that
not
that is
bad.
that that picture that you posted online? The floorboards and all that?
Um, no, I think that was collaborated. I haven't even seen that yet. I think Leo collaborated that on the side. So no, that was something that our repair crew is working on, and I haven't even seen that yet because I've been out doing my own thing, earlier today. So like I did see that there was collaboration, but I didn't see that. See, it's like when you collaborate with me, sometimes I don't always see what you put until I look at it later. But yeah, no, that's some of the work that our repair crew does. So, but yeah.
Okay, that's cool. So who does the repair for on Trifecta? Leo?
No, so basically we have a couple of guys that are on our team that actually do it. Leo go out and do them every now and then, if it's a bigger job and he's needed. But yeah, we have a 2-man repair crew that we have, and they go out and do all of our drywall repairs.
Yeah. Okay,
And then
okay, cool.
sometimes if I'm feeling squirrely, I'll go out there too. If I'm not doing home inspection.
All right, all right. Well, we'll just hang tight for a bit and then for a few more eyeballs to come on, and then we'll do a market update. And then we'll go over today's topic. We're gonna talk about market update, talk about home insurance, pretty important stuff. Home insurance, and then water heaters. A scary story about water heaters from Lisa, and then we're gonna also talk about the National Association of Realtors lawsuit that just received a verdict this past couple of days on the 31st. And I'm gonna share articles with you guys, kind of give it talk about my take on it. Hopefully get to hear Lisa's perspective as a lender on it, Charles' perspective on it as a home inspector, because this is gonna change the industry so much. And yeah, I can't wait to get to today's topic. But yeah, if you guys have any comments, Chi fam, just put them in the comment section below or the live chat, whatever you guys call it, wherever you're watching it from, whether it's Facebook or YouTube. We would love to engage with you guys through that as well. So without further ado, let me go ahead and share my screen so that we can talk about the market trends that's been going on. All right. Let me just share my screen. There it is. The chart everybody loves to see. Let's look at how it's changing so far. All right. So inventory is up from last week, 3.4%. That's good. New listing is up from last week, 0.5%. Sold home is also up 7.2%. And pending homes are up 61%. Comparing last week. Okay, so that's really good. That means we have more inventory now. Um, but we're in the fall now. We're in November now. And this is kind of typical. Inventory tends to go up a little bit, but things starts kind of slowing down on the selling side. So we'll look at all of that. Okay, so this is pretty typical. Now comparing the last month's stat, inventory is up 7%. New listings up 75%. That's really good. Sold homes, it says NA. Okay. That's kind of odd. Interesting. Okay. Maybe they don't have enough data yet. That's why it says NA. That is the first time I've seen that. But pending homes is up 62%. So it seems like everything is up. Okay. That's good. That's good. Now, same time last year, inventory is down 28%. New listings are down 56%. Sold homes are down 68%. And pendings are down 23%. Year to date, inventory is down 28%. New listings are down 34%. Sold homes are down 28%. Pending homes are down 24%. See, so everything is slowing down. Okay. Average price per square foot is down from last week by 6%. And again, no data from last month. Very odd. But last year it is up by 1%. Year to date, it's down 4%. Average price per square foot. Okay. Days on the market from last week, it is up by 18%. So like 4 days more. So on average, right now, it's going to take about 26 days on average for your home to go pending. Okay. That's the data right there. Man, this is so odd. Why? There's like no data right here. This is so odd.
Wow.
That is a bummer. It's maybe they're working on it. I don't know what it is, but I've never seen this happen before.
Systems
Very
down?
odd. Possibly. Or maybe they're updating changes or so. I don't know. Very, very odd.
Maybe it has something to do with the NAR situation. Just kidding.
No, it has nothing to do with the NAR. At least from what I think. But year to same time last year, November 1st, it's a lot faster days on the market compared to last year. 34 days last year on average. This year is 20 days. And then year to date, 31 days. How long it takes for a home to go pending? And last year to date is 21 days. So it's still pretty fast, okay? Sellers, if you guys are wondering, is your home gonna sell within a timely manner? Yes, under 30 days. There you go. Okay. Now, average price sold and actives. Now, from last week, active homes did go up by 65%. Ooh, okay. Now, this kind of tells me, again, active price 1 point right here. This is basically 1.1 mil. Okay. So that tells me that the home that's on the market, the average right now is like in the million. That's why it's so high, y'all. Okay. It's sitting. Those are the only homes that are sitting right now are this price point, 1.1 mil. And this is just from last week. Sold price on average is 600K. So it is down 3% from last week, which was 619K. Now, active price is down comparing to last month by 2%. Again, NA. Right, this month, right now, it's 623,000 on average sold price. Last month, same time, there's no data. Very, very odd. Gosh, I don't like that at all. Storm me off, y'all. Okay, same time last year, November 1st, active price this year was higher by 8% and sold price was higher by 15%. So if you want to compare this right here, okay, people? Last year, the average sold price was 538,000. This year, 623,000. That's a lot. That's almost 100K. Okay. Year to date, up 8.2%. Sold is down 2.5%. Let's go to the month's worth of inventory. And oh man, I don't like this at all. Why are they doing this? Okay, well, look at this. It's saying we have 3.8 months worth of inventory. That is very high. That's like buyer's market territory right there, which we know that is not the case. So something's definitely going on with today's data, y'all. Because I know we do not have over 3 months worth of inventory.
Refresh it tomorrow, Chia. Let's see if
I might
screenshot
have
it
to
for
do that.
us.
Yeah, I might have to do that because this is very off. Yeah, this
Yeah,
is definitely off.
it has to be because if the data was so different and definitely normal in this
Because
market
if you look at because if you look at
last week,
August and September, right? It was 1.4 months worth of inventory and 1.2 months worth of inventory. and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden it's 3.8. Maybe it's because it's the first day of the month. I don't know.
Yeah. That's
Was
definitely somewhere.
Yeah, so I need to relook at this once we go, or we'll just find out next month, next week, right? On
That's
next
true.
week's live show. Yeah. So that way there's more time to process the data.
Well, if that's the case. It's like,
But
okay, well, it is buyer's market. Buyers come back.
yeah, look, Amandi's like, I thought the same. Something's going on. We don't have that much inventory, y'all. So this is definitely off. So we're gonna have to come back to this maybe next week. Okay. But year to date this year, 1.5 months worth of inventory. No change from last year. 1.5 months worth of inventory. All right. And that is the market update, y'all. You guys want to add, Charles, Lisa?
I would say
Y'all
that
good?
last number makes a lot more sense as to what's current. If you can scroll back down, that
1.5?
yeah, yeah, that
Yeah.
looks a lot more accurate.
Yeah, it should be around there. Like the highest, I would say maybe 2 months, but 3.8, it's a buyer's market now, y'all. I'm just
Yeah,
only for today, though.
right. Which is a great thing because the Feds just met yesterday and the interest rates finally, we got some leeway today.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. Even so, so yeah, let's talk about that, huh? Since you brought it up. I know that when the Feds met, a couple days ago, they didn't do anything to the rates. But yesterday and today, the rates were going down.
Yeah, it's kind of strange because a lot of times, but not always, okay? And we can't say that, especially during such a time that's so volatile. When the Feds meet and everything, before the Feds meet, typically lenders will be a little bit more conservative because their investors are conservative. So the interest rates usually go up to cushion for whatever that decision is going to be. They made the decision, it's going, they're going to stabilize it and everything. So it's like, okay, we're all in the safe zone now. And I've seen this happen multiple times this year. So the rates gets down for a day or two, and then all of a sudden it shoots up again.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be dependent on that. We have all of this information. It just doesn't seem like it's plausible. We're towards the end of the year. Next year is going to be election year. So hopefully that's going to come into play. There's a lot of talk out there. I don't want to regurgitate it only because I don't really know if it's accurate. I'm not buying it myself as a mortgage loan officer. So I was like, okay, let me wait the wave to see how that looks like a little bit. Last week the week before we were already in the low 8s. Last week we were in the high 7s, so it started to go down just a tad bit, right? And today we're at that 7.5% again. So it's kind of nice. It's kind of looking like it might look better. And if it goes further down, I'm going to be reaching out to people who had it in the beginning of the year or the second quarter and everything like that, see if it's a possible refinance for them. We hope and pray, but we'll see what happens. Okay, guys.
Right.
FHA finally went back down to less than 7% again. I know it.
High 6, right? High 6, right?
Now it's high 6, guys. It's not in the 7s anymore, so that's good. That's good.
It's high 6 now. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny that we're talking about it now that we're celebrating over high 6s, right?
Right.
We saw over like mid 8s, and it's like, oh my gosh, high 6, yes.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy? So I'm gonna go ahead and just share that information with you guys real quick here, so you guys can all see it. It's on the Mortgage News Daily. You guys have all access to this. This is the link right here, okay, guys? So 30-year overall is roughly about 7.51. Okay, again, 15-year, 30-year, not a huge difference, but this time around the gap is a little bit more. And remember
That's conventional, right?
Correct. That's conventional, guys. So if this conventional rate seems to be a bigger margin than it is for FHA, rates are starting to look good. Remember how we showed you guys this last time, and it was very, very close. It was only like a quarter of a percent.
Close.
So now it's starting to look like it's going back. I can't even say normal. I don't even know what normal is anymore, guys.
It's so funny. It's
better.
It's so funny how FHA is lower than VA. Not by a lot, but it's
Yes,
lower.
I
Normally,
know,
VA is the
right?
lowest.
Correct, correct. I mean, during COVID, VA
Oh my
all
god.
day, hands out, down, and before that. But in a volatile market, sometimes it's like this because keep in mind, VA is 0% down. There's no mortgage
You're
insurance.
right.
Definitely is a riskier type of loan. But we serve those who serve us, right, guys?
Hmm.
So let's hope that
They're
that
the best
continues.
loans. Yeah.
They really are. They really are.
Yeah, I love this. I love this.
Okay.
The chart that you have there that's got basically all the way back from 2014, and it kind of shows where the numbers have been. So that's a
Yep.
really good, because I think a lot of people, especially if they're young, and they're just kind of getting out there right now and starting to buy a house right now, they can get an idea about what the rates used to be, and then, like I said, we can go back 20 years. I want to see, like
Correct.
it's different for people that are freaking out about this now. When there was double digits, back in the 80s and all that, it's like people don't really understand that this is, granted prices were cheaper, but also income was less too, so there was a lot of differences
Correct.
back then too.
Correct, correct. You're very, very right about that. And I love seeing these charts as well. And when we talk about it on a weekly basis, it's easier to remember. It's like, hey, guys, 2 weeks ago, it was, almost
Hmm.
half a point and sometimes even a little bit more, depending on the day that it is today. So this is actually a really, really good day for us in the lending world. Okay, guys? So let's hope it keeps trending that way. We hope, but
Yeah.
I don't know what
Let
the norm is now, guys.
yeah. Let's just see if the rates keep going down. We already know prices ain't never gonna come back down.
Yeah,
Everybody that's benching right now on the seats waiting, they're just all gonna jump in at once. So
yeah, yeah.
but we're not gonna talk about that topic today because we got so much to cover today.
Oh,
Um
yeah.
but but did you want to share about the water heater story first, Lisa? Then we could talk about the home insurance.
Yeah, let me share. Well, let's talk about the home insurance first. And that's the whole
Okay.
reason why we went into the water heater situation to begin with. Okay, guys. So a couple of changes. And we mentioned this before, but we're getting more and more updates from our insurance partners and everything like that. And what they're saying is a lot of them have changed their guidelines. One, many of them do not insure in California. That's not just for home insurance, guys, that's for car
Mm-hmm.
too. Okay. They no longer insure. And the ones that do have much stricter guidelines. So one of our insurance partners has just shared with us this bit of information that if the home is older than 30 years, okay, that they need to have a water leak detector installed, and it needs to be installed by a certified person. And Charles, correct me if I'm wrong, but that has to be a certified plumber based on the information that I gave you earlier, correct?
Yes, yes.
So here's where like the snowball effect is kind of like it's not that it's a lender's requirement, guys, it's the home insurance requirement, but the lender requires that you have to have home insurance to borrow from the bank because they have to protect their asset. They have to protect the money that they're investing in you to invest in this house, right? So being that that's the case and everything like that, if you can't get home insurance, this home won't pass. This is important to know. And on a side note, especially
Mm.
later on when Chia is talking about all those issues with NAR and everything, like everything, this is important to know because if you come in and you remove all of your contingencies because you think that's the way to win the offer, even in a tough market, you got to just have somebody that has your back because in the event that these things happen, if you can't get home insurance for this home, if this home just for some reason is uninsurable, or if there is insurance on it, okay, the insurance is astronomically higher, which throws your debt to income ratio out of the waters. Now you don't qualify because the home insurance is too expensive. When you put it in, plug into the numbers, you don't qualify anymore. You lose your deposit because this was an unforeseen situation. Now that you guys know it's not unforeseen anymore, we're giving you guys a heads up. One of the things that's really, really important to note, this happened to me when I purchased this home. The home that I live in right now is actually a foreclosed home. So we bought it in that time. And at that time, I wasn't actually in the industry yet. So we bought this home. It was supposed to be as is. So guys, when you see that, when you say, hey, we're not going to make any repairs, we're not going to do any of that stuff, still get the inspection. still do all your due diligence. Losing your earnest money deposit is way better than losing your life, losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I will elaborate on that. So when I purchased this house 6 months down the line, it was so crazy. My garage, the door that I come into on a daily basis, is connected to my laundry room. So that's a mud room. And on that day, it was crazy. It was Ash Wednesday. And I don't usually take naps, but I was super tired and I really want to just rest. And as I'm going to rest, I just hear this voice and say, hey, just go to mass, just go to mass. So I take the family to go to mass. And as I'm walking out my door, I see this, like, I don't know, you know how like when you're in a bonfire and you see not just smoke, but that kind of like cloudy air on top of the smoke, right?
Yeah.
So I saw something like that in my laundry room and it smelled terrible. You can absolutely smell the carbon monoxide. And the thing is, because it's in my laundry room, even though my laundry room is right connected to my kitchen, my smoke detector didn't even pick that up. So I didn't think anything of it. And at that time, we've already lived in this house for 6 months. So again, a voice tells me, call PG&E. So I called PG&E. I was like, hey, I think I smell carbon monoxide in my laundry room. Should I be concerned? And they're like, you know what? Anytime you smell carbon monoxide, you should be concerned. So we're going to shut off your electricity for now, and then we'll come out to check it after. And then I went to mass with the kids and everything, and then I came back, and the PG&E inspector was there waiting for me. And as he's waiting for me and he's inspecting and everything like that, his face was just like pale. And he was just telling me, do you know how lucky you are? And I'm like, yeah, sure. I'm pretty blessed. No, you have no idea. So he pulls me out of the street. He's like, do you see the chimney? Do you see how dark that is? And I was like, okay, all right. Anything to it? I didn't realize that these types of chimneys didn't come in black. I thought that was just normal. Again, because this house was supposed to be sold as is. We didn't get an inspection. We didn't know at that time, guys. Us, right? We didn't know that at that time. And he was telling us that because there was a gas leak in my water heater and it's been emitting this for a really long time. So for the whole chimney, Charles, to be black like this chair, how long did it take for that to happen? How long had that had to leak for that to happen, Charles?
Well, for that problem that you're talking about, I mean, it could have been definitely months that was going on, but I'm still like, you were explaining it to me. I'm still trying to figure out what the problem was, if it was like a backdrafting or like a flue blockage or something like that, or maybe it was just wasn't connected and it was just the exhaust gases were like just traveling up the side of the flue. I'm still trying to figure out what exactly the cause was for that particular situation. But whatever it was probably like that for several months for it to cause that.
Yeah. So here's the thing, guys. I mean, he was telling me it happened for a really long time, and it was a disaster waiting to happen. And he was telling me, I was like, you were so blessed, because at any point it was so bad, the soot in that chimney and whatever, at that time I didn't even know what soot was. And he was saying it was so bad.
I heard that word in so long, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Anytime your house could have just blown up, and he just was and I was just taking it in on
that bad. The gas leak was that bad?
It was really bad. It was really super bad. And this is why it's so important to have good representation and get all of this stuff inspected, guys. Get it inspected thoroughly. Now, I don't know if that would be noticeable at that time, but if it's that bad, I can't imagine it not to be, because we only had that house for 6 months.
Yeah, so like I'm just thinking now, like y'all been there for 6 months. What took it that long for you guys to finally notice the smell or that there was a leak?
Well, I did sense a little bit of it, but again, our carbon monoxide detector never went off. So I was just thinking, nah, I'm just tripping. It's just, our house is just dirty or something, because it was a foreclosed property and it was a mess, right? So I didn't think.
Did you check your carbon monoxide detector if it's defective?
No. I mean, this happened in 2011, so no.
Oh man.
I just
Okay.
remember
So
I just remember I was very, very blessed on a day that I didn't think that I was gonna go to mass during that time. We usually go in the evenings, during Ash Wednesdays. We went, at noontime, and, I definitely had God by my side, and I was very, very, blessed with that. So I'm sharing you guys this story just because now, when the insurance companies are having these guidelines, realistically, these guidelines should have been in place to begin with, right, Charles? Because Charles and I, we were talking
Absolutely.
about it earlier. It's like, hey, we're so cautious when it comes to fires, but we forget that, hey, with houses there could be leaks. There could be things that aren't screwed on tight enough, things like that. So these things are in place not to be strict, but just to protect you guys.
and I think that's why they have been heavily promoting electric water heaters now.
Yeah. So luckily we had a home warranty, so we got our whole entire water heater like replaced and everything. So which was really good. But now that they have that electric, I wish that they had it then, and I would have switched it back at that time.
I think that's why it became an issue, because you know how a couple years ago there was a bunch of homes that was burned down because of a gas leak that was
Mhm.
PG&E's fault.
Oh yes, I
So
remember that.
and so that's why even right now, if you're driving down the freeway or so, you're going south, you can still see PG&E working on the roads, and people don't know this, but they're working on gas lines because gas pipes are connected underground, and it's going hecka far to all of these homes that's in the boonies, and some places that don't have SMUD, they have PG&E, and the PG&E connects all of that underground. So yeah, that was the big fire. So I think that's why a lot of manufacturers now for appliances are coming in, they're promoting electric appliances now, and that's why a lot of homes right now demand solar, right? And making everything electric now. Like, you don't have gas stoves anymore. They want you to get electrical stoves, right? All of that. Dryer. Like back in the day, gas was a big dryer thing, right? For washers and dryer. Now it's electric.
So that's a pickle because my husband's a amateur gourmet chef. He's
Yeah, he's a
wonderful,
chef
and
and he loves his
most
gas.
chefs do not like electric stoves at all. But if they force us to change that, which just because you said that, I was like, oh,
You
I
guys
didn't
are just
even
gonna have to make an outdoor kitchen.
for real.
The problem is a lot of the push is because of California's green requirements, right?
Yeah.
It's like with electric cars and everything else. It's like everything that want to get away from combustion. Gas combustion things. It's that's a whole nother subject because of what it costs to create these solar panels and everything else and everything else. But not to
Oh
mention
yeah.
what it is to generate the electricity. But just as water heaters in general, I thought it was interesting. That was a whole conversation that Lisa and I had earlier about that water shutoff device. So very similar, right? A lot of people, they don't even think about water in a home. They just think, oh, it's fine, whatever it is. They don't worry about the pressure. They don't worry about any of that stuff, right? And so one of these requirements, we have to have smoke detectors. We have to have carbon monoxide detectors in the home. Obviously, these are things that are detrimental to someone's life. If there's a fire in the home and someone's sleeping, it can be a problem for them to even hear what's going on or know there's a fire, and then they can burn in their home, right? That's a problem. Obviously, if there's carbon monoxide, it's not supposed to be something that you can smell or see, and so it's important to have those testers in the home. But the thing about it is then that's regulated now. But one of the other very large insurance claims is water damage in a home. But all of this time, they have these devices. They've had these devices for several years, but no one's actually, and they're still not doing it until somebody requires it, is they're still not putting in some of these things to actually help mitigate some of that. So for example, this device that Lisa was talking about earlier, this is only one of the devices that are out there. Basically, this is an electronic shutoff to your house. So instead of having the regular turn knob on your outside of your house or the big knob where you can shut off the water to your house, there's a device that you can install now that will actually, you can shut the water off electronically from remote. from anywhere, pretty much. And then also, this device smartly monitors your water usage. And if there's a catastrophic failure in your home, like a pipe burst or something like that, instead of coming home to water leaking out of your front door or your garage, this thing will notify you and then either shut it off automatically, depending on what your settings are, or it will notify you and tell you,
How
hey,
does it
there's
look
something
like?
going on. It looks just like this. It's on my screen right now.
Oh, okay. I didn't even see it.
Yeah, so that's the actual device right there, and basically it just installs on your main water supply, and that blue switch right there. This is only one of the brands that's out there. This is Moen's a really big brand as far as faucets and plumbing fixtures and whatnot for many years. So this is one of the companies that came out with this. And then again, they've developed their equipment over the years to this particular piece of equipment to be able to monitor more and more things. And so it smartly monitors everything in your home. It is.
This is so crazy because the whole time you guys are talking about this, I was thinking about buying one of these a long time ago for my home because I like to mess around with all my gadgets and stuff like that and smart homes, and they have these where it sends you a notification through an app on your phone when it senses a water leak or moisture anywhere, right? So this is so interesting that now they're making this a requirement.
Only for homes 30 years older, Chia.
30-year older.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
30
think about
year
it this
older.
way. What's the most likely thing that's going to happen on a home that's that old? You're more likely to have problems show up, but you can have a problem with a 5-year-old home, with a 10-year-old home, something that was just made. I had a friend of mine. He had a problem with some PVC piping out inside his yard because it broke over time from things shifting and moving. And so you can have leaks anywhere in your home, in your attic, and then there's all these different types of piping that they have and fittings and all kinds of things happen during construction and shifting and movement and whatever else it is. Even when these pipes are heated and cooled, if you're running hot water through some of these plastic lines, there's going to be some movement in these lines, and things move around and shift, and then eventually things break. This is just a normal circumstance. But the thing about it is that nobody's really thinking about it, because when it happens to you, it sucks. But then nobody dies. You're just out of your home for a while because they're doing all this water repair and everybody's complaining about it. But it's not as big of a deal because no one passed away, nobody died. And it's not like a life-ending thing, but it's a massive life-altering thing, and it's also costing the insurance companies and insurance payers lots and lots and lots of money. So I think that's the reason why, as Lisa mentioned, this is why they're going towards that, because it's getting to the point where this is getting to be costly, and it happens often, rather often, and it's little things like your something as simple as your water supply line on your toilet. If you tighten that with a wrench or a pair of pliers instead of by hand, which is what it specifically says on the tag that you're supposed to do, and over time that fixture is just slowly starting to break over time, and then it just breaks one day when you're gone, and you have no way to shut it off. It's just going to keep going and going and going and flood your whole house, regardless of where it is. Right, and you have no way of knowing. Same thing with the rubber hoses behind your washer, the hoses behind your refrigerator, the hoses underneath your sink. All of that stuff has a lifespan, and even though they might be steel braided or whatever it is, there's still a rubber line on the inside of that, and it does not last forever. So when you're going to replace all these things, people don't replace these lines, and then all of a sudden one day they just burst, and then again it's just flowing, and it just goes out, and all of a sudden, again, like I said, your whole house is flooded or whatever it is. Same thing with some of these fire sprinklers. They had some problems with those in the past too. However, I don't think you can attach this to a connection where there's fire sprinklers, because that would kind of defeat the purpose. But
so here's my question.
Is that...
Sorry. So here's my question before I forget. If insurances are requiring this right now for homes that are 30 years and older, okay, what happens now if the seller goes, I ain't gonna install that?
So, guys, it's not that all insurance do this, okay? There are other insurance companies. They charge a lot more. So I have a situation right now. That's the reason why this is a great topic today, and I'm bringing it up, because without that installation, because it has to be installed by a certified person. And if I looked at the Moen correctly, it's less than $500, right, Charles?
It's about $500-$600, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then installation and everything like that. What would you say that would be, Charles? You think?
If it's as simple as putting this right outside of a house and there's an electrical outlet nearby, I mean, maybe $1,000, maybe 1,200. Plumbers are going to charge about 100 $150 an hour. So yeah, it's going to be somewhere around there. Which, like I
Mhm.
said, again, when you're thinking about it, it's not really that bad, considering
No,
what
it's
it
not that
does.
bad at all. It's not that bad at all. So because the seller, we just didn't have time to complete this and everything, right? They don't want to do it, just like you said, Chia. Okay. And our buyers knew about that and everything. They are getting home insurance. It is with another company. It's much more expensive. It's roughly about $450 more expensive every single month. And keep in mind, home insurance increases just like property tax. It increases, and just like
So
property tax for the last several years, it seems like it keeps increasing because the number of claims in California kept getting higher and higher and higher. And insurance companies are saying, you know what, I'm not making much money in California, I'm pulling out. That's really
right.
the real reason why. And they're putting these guidelines, the ones that are left, thank God we still have some left. Otherwise, it would be tremendously expensive. I mean, for our Sonoma house, for instance, when I purchased that house, it was actually only $1,500 for home insurance. Okay. And unfortunately, the Santa Rosa fire happened, which is right next door. And my home insurance became from 1,500 all the way to $6,000 a year, from less than, a little over $100 a month. Now it's like $500 every single month. So can you imagine, if you are already on the cusp of qualification, that is going to throw you guys off.
Yeah, and not only that, but what about, let's say, what about those first time homeowners that just bought their home prior to this being a requirement? Are those insurance gonna go back to them and be like, hey, I know you just bought our home and everything was fine and dandy last year, but we got new policy now. Your home is 30 years and older. You need to get this thing installed, or we're gonna be kicking you to the curb.
Yeah, it did happen. It actually happened.
Oh no, Lisa, you're kicking off. Your network's kicking out. Do you see that too, Charles?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh, she dropped out.
Yeah, her network's dropping out. Okay, when she logs back in, we'll talk. But while we're waiting for that, let's go over some comments, huh? New says in a lot of new homes, they use smart water heaters now too. Detect water leaks, time when to ramp up heat, and more efficient. That's true. I see a lot of smart water heaters right now, but I would that suffice for this insurance requirement, Charles? Replacing just a
No.
water heater that's smart?
No, because they want to be able to monitor the entire house, and they want to make sure that,
Mm,
because here's the thing, it doesn't make a difference how old the house is and how old the piping is. You can have galvanized piping, all these recalled PEX,
that's true.
whatever it is. The thing about it is that piping can fail at any time, anywhere, in any location, and that's the reason why they want it. And because obviously there was a problem with these coming up, that's probably the reason why they did that.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Hey, Lisa, we lost you for a second there. Only a second.
Sorry, guys. And it's funny because I can hear you guys perfectly fine. I can see you guys perfectly fine. I can hear everything that you guys said, but I don't know what happened. Sorry.
All good. We were just going over comments. And then this is the next one in line. Mandy says, I can understand why they required that in 30 plus year homes. I have heard of a orange pipe product they used that was made of insane materials. I don't know why. Seems like wax cardboard when I removed it.
Wow.
Okay.
I
Orange.
think Amandi's talking about drainage piping. There was this material used, back in like the 60s, 70s, 80s, called Orangeburg, and it was basically it's like a sewer. It's what they use for sewer lateral pipes. And so it was this really. When it was good, it was great, But after it breaks down over years, it turns into this mushy, friggin' lumpy
Huh.
mess of piping, and it's horrible. That's probably what she's talking about.
Yeah, she said it's in Lodi. They pulled that weird product up a lot out at the repairs, like 100 to 600 deep. Okay. What's it called? What's it called again, Charles?
Orangeburg.
Orangeburg?
Yeah. So basically, it looks very similar to ABS when it's brand new. It's like a black piping, but it mixed together with a bunch of different materials. But over time, when it breaks down and when there's a lot of weight and all that stuff on it, it basically gets really lumpy and it starts to compress, and then obviously it completely defeats the proper drainage for. Oh, there it is, right there. Yeah, look at that thing. Look at that. Click on that image right there. That thing's. Yeah, that one right there. Look at that nasty
Holy
thing.
moly! Is this what
Okay.
you were
So it
talking
looks.
about, Mandy?
I can see what you're talking about, how it looks like cardboard.
Yeah. And so basically, after it starts to break down, it gets really lumpy on the inside, and then it just completely diminishes the flow. It's horrible.
Yeah, this don't look sturdy at all. When it was good, it was good,
Yeah, when
huh?
it was good, it was great. Yeah, just like everything else.
Yeah, that don't look too sturdy at all, especially for something that's gonna be for your plumbing, and all that for your whole house. We've came a long way, huh? Contractors, materials, code, right?
Yeah, I
There
mean,
always has to
nowadays.
be.
Well,
My house
nowadays
is only 20
it's
years
all
old, so
ABS.
Charles, I can't wait for you to come over to install all of that for me.
I think it's about time that you get a home inspection. I need to check and make sure that you don't have any other problems. I mean,
No, no,
you
no.
never had one,
No, no,
so
no.
I think it's about
Yeah.
time. It's about time. So, but with the whole situation with water heaters, I mean, this is one of the pictures that I found online. This is actually this is the inside of a water heater. That's rather old. Has a lot of sediment on the inside.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow,
So
that's
you kind of.
gross.
That look like that has
Yeah.
Orangeburg too.
No, but so here's the thing. This is a pretty nasty one, but this is pretty normal. See, the thing about the inside of
What?
water heaters is, yeah, no, this is pretty normal. The inside of water heaters, there's a constant battle being going on between the water that's inside that water heater and the materials on the inside. That water is constantly battling with that metal inside to just rot it away and get through it. So, I will say this again. Number one, the main reason why you need to have these inspections done is because, regardless of the situation, you need to make sure everything was installed properly. Just like with Lisa's experience, if the flue is not connected properly on a gas or propane-fired water heater, you can have lots of issues, with those exhaust gases going into your house. You need to make sure that stuff is vented properly. All of that stuff is important, but tank water heaters will always leak. It is a matter of time. It's not if they will, it's when they will. And you have to make sure you're protecting yourself against this. So having a pan underneath it and that pan routing to the exterior is the best way to do that. Usually there isn't a catastrophic failure where they just explode and start leaking water all over the place. Usually they just slowly start to leak. But the problem is that most people have a bunch of crap around their water heaters and they don't know that it's leaking. And so it just causes water damage to whatever drywall or whatever it's doing. Yeah, So that's just one of the examples.
Charles, so what is the lifespan typically of a water heater then?
10 years.
It really depends on the water heater that you purchase. So if you buy a cheap water heater, it might last 6 to 10 years. If you buy something that has a little bit thicker of a lining on the inside, maybe the company put a little bit more effort into protecting some of the things. Maybe they put a few more fail safes on the inside, maybe 2 anode rods, and I can explain what that is. But if it's a better quality water heater, then it might last a little bit longer. But the idea is there's maintenance that should be done that no one does, which will extend the life of a water heater. They also have, newer style water heaters that are made of a composite material that have a very much longer lifespan than some of these older ones. But with a tank water heater, there is a life expectancy, and you need to make sure you're paying attention to that. Especially, I just did an inspection. I did an inspection a couple of weeks ago. This water heater was shoved so far. It was in a condo. And so it was shoved so far underneath this cabinet that basically you had to disassemble the cabinet and part of the countertop in order to get this thing out. And this was probably about 20 years old. So it was well past its life, had no pan underneath it, didn't have a temperature and pressure relief pipe attached to the side of it. There was nothing as far as the fail safes and all that. And there was no water safety device on the bottom of it or anything like that. It's the same thing that I was talking about with the device that just monitors your whole house. they also have some of those that just monitor your water heater or specific devices. So, for example, if you have a water heater that's inside of an interior closet and you live on a slab foundation, so you don't have any way to drain it anywhere, it's in the middle of your house, and you have a slab foundation and you have a water heater in there, and there's no way to drain that water away if it started leaking, they actually have a device that you can install on the shutoff of the water heater that monitors the water in the bottom of the pan. And so then again, if you start to get some leaks in there, it'll shut that water heater off, and then a loud alarm will go off and all that stuff, and it'll give you time to actually save the situation if you don't want to have a whole house monitoring thing. But honestly, the price is very similar. When you're talking about, I understand $600, $1,200 is a lot of money when you're talking about some device that's just going to monitor something. You're not even going to mess with it. It's like, what's the point of me paying all this money? Your deductible, and then the heartache and the pain that you have to deal with. Not only this, insurance companies don't like to pay out claims, right? So they're going to put you through the ringer to try to figure out what's going on and how long it's going to take. I know somebody else that had another problem. She was over a year dealing with a leak in the ceiling that leaked down into her kitchen area. All this stuff that had to be done. It takes a long time to deal with this. And in the meantime, your house is a disaster if you can even live there. You know what I mean? So there's a lot going on. So everything you can do to protect yourself from these leaks and from these small maintenance problems, you should try to do them and do your best to keep those things in mind, because it's very, very expensive and it's a lot to deal with when you don't think about it. Fires and water leaks and all these things. There's so many things that you have to think about when it comes to a home. How many people actually have working smoke or fire extinguishers in their home? How many people actually have working smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors in their home? Again, as a home inspector, we go through and we check all of these devices. Most of the time, they're disconnected from the ceiling and they're just not there because
I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie, Charles. When you say
What are
fire
you gonna tell me?
extinguisher, I don't even have a fire extinguisher. So like, should I get
What are you
one?
gonna do? What are you gonna do if you have a fire at your oven, or somewhere? What are you gonna do? Go out, hurry up, and if you go outside, and
Get
grab
out the house, kids.
Is that the right thing to do? Because you're gonna spray it on a grease fire, and then it's gonna just turn into a big mess, So all these things, they're cheap, and then when you think about it, in the end, it's really cheap. Most people's deductibles are what, like $1,000, $2,000 on a home, right?
1,000.
So it's way cheaper than that to get one of these devices and have it installed, and then you have the peace of mind. Not to mention, the nice thing about these things is they monitor your water, so even if you have a small leak that's not detrimental, it can save you money on your water bill, because then you can detect things ahead of time, so there's just a lot of things about it. But like I said, we can we can go on a water heater so much more with safety, but you gotta get one. They're very good. It doesn't matter how old your house is. Doesn't matter what kind of piping you have. You should always have something to protect each one of your big things in your house. Water, and then also, we already talked about sewer lines. I've shown you some nasty videos from those things.
Hey Charles. Since, I got to book an appointment with you, right? Because you got to come check out my house, because this is definitely a blessing in disguise for me, because now that this has come to light, and I'm thinking to myself, it's like, shoot, that incident happened in 2011. So technically my quote unquote new replaced water heater, according to you, it's already expired again, right?
It's getting close. Yeah.
Well,
it's technically past its useful life. And then I'm wondering, when you had that installed in 2011, because the requirements were slightly different back then, did they do any of the things that they are required to do now? Still to this day, drain pans are not technically required underneath a water heater. And I don't understand why. It's the cheapest thing.
See, and that's one thing I wanted to also talk about, right? Because we do inspections on a lot of older homes, right, Charles? And most of the time, you see a water heater that doesn't have an expansion tank and it doesn't have a drip pad. And right now, you need to have those things, right? But when the home the last time it had his water heater replaced was probably 10, 15, 20 years ago. And during that time, it wasn't a requirement. So it's grandfathered in, right? So it's kind of complicated and frustrating sometimes, because you have to explain that. We have to explain that to the client and say, hey, look, yes, the water heater is out of its age. Yes, it doesn't have these things like the expansion tank and the drip pan. But during that time, the water heater was replaced. It wasn't a requirement. That technology probably wasn't even out yet. So it wasn't a requirement. It's grandfathered in, right? It's kind of like when you and me was talking about that HVAC or that water heater where it's working, but it should be replaced. But it's
Yeah,
So Charles,
working
and
though.
well,
so
and then the
Charles, now I'm
problem
concerned
is,
again. I'm concerned again because like my house is built in 2003. So my water heater, it's on top of this concrete block. There is no drainage there. Even if it was leaking, how the heck would I know? Because I've never seen a leak in my garage in that area. So
You have
okay,
to
can you
go put
just
a
well,
find
camera
out
next
if,
to
if
it, like
yeah,
and then, whenever there's motion, it just sends you like a notification.
no, trust me. If it was leaking, you would come out to your garage in the morning, and you'd definitely be able to tell. But
You would
that's the
know.
problem, and that's the thing that I try to make sure I explain. If the realtor doesn't, I try to make sure, because I always get this thing where I'm told, oh well, the home warranty will cover this, that, and whatever. Okay, well here's the problem.
Mm,
The home warranty is there, and it will in some cases cover some things, but most of the time they do not cover code upgrades. So even though they may cover the tank,
right.
which in most cases is 600-700 bucks, 800,000 max
Mm,
maybe, then you still have to pay for the expansion tank, which is another 100, 200. Then you have to pay for the sediment trap on the
Okay.
gas line, which, that's another whatever the plumber's going to charge you, and then if you need a drain pan and then the permit and all this other stuff. So by the time you're done, this, again, I think we talked about this a few weeks ago. Going rate for a water heater is anywhere between $2,500 to $3,000 from a licensed plumber to install, if it's accessible. If you got to do something crazy like going to an attic or in a basement, that's a whole nother story. But a garage installed one, that's basically what you're going to pay. Now, all of that is including the permit, it's including the expansion tank, and all of that other stuff that needs to be done. So if that's not happening, you got to remember your warranty company may cover like a small fraction of that. They're not going to cover all of it, and then you got to come out of pocket for the rest. And that's even if they decide they're going to cover it. So you got to keep that
wow,
stuff in mind.
that's really, really good to know. So Charles, yeah, I gotta book you for tomorrow, okay? You're gonna come over and take a look at my water heater. Number one, now I'm concerned, which is actually I was like, okay, this is a blessing in disguise. My house almost blew up the first time. Okay, let's make sure it doesn't flood this time, right?
Well,
But
and I'll
just so
tell you
that the
this.
public knows, Charles, just so the public knows, to change it to the upgraded electronic water heater, how much would that be? So then our people know it's like, hey, you guys have an older home. If it's past 10 years, like Charles says, guys, maybe consider changing that.
So now here's the thing. If you want to change from either natural gas or a propane water heater, your house also has to have enough amperage in your panel to support that. Most water heaters, electric water heaters run about 30 amps. And so you need to have an extra, capability in your panel to be able to cover that. Not to mention, then you have to run a line from your panel. If it's never been equipped with an electric water heater before, then you have to do all that. So that's a whole another undertaking. That's like basically changing a tanked water heater to a tankless water heater. It's a completely different type of installation. So it's something that has to be checked by an electrician to make sure that it's even possible. If you have 200 amp service and you have a lot of other gas appliances in your house,
what would be a ballpark for all of that service to change it out to do that?
well, think about the cost of the water heater. It's going to be the same. It's going to be about the same. And then you're talking about what it is. Because here's the thing. If your panel is on the complete other side of the house and somebody has to crawl in the attic and do all this stuff, I mean, you're talking another $1,000, $2,000 at least to run this. And you have an electrician doing this, right? So they're charging $200 an hour, and they got to run that line all the way. Or if it's right, I mean, there's all these different things that come into play. So it can be a couple $1,000. It could be another $5,000. I mean, it just
Okay,
depends.
I'm gonna stop you there so that way we go on to the next topic. All right, we're
This
getting
is
very
good.
passionate about
You
water
gotta
heaters
know.
right
I
now.
want to know. Okay, fine, Charles. Remember, come over tomorrow. We do this, and then
Oh, man.
Because I
people-
really
I'm gonna
really
do this
want to
one
cover the
day with
NAR
water heater.
topic.
Okay, good. Yes, that's a good
Yes,
Okay,
topic.
me
so
too.
I'm
I
gonna
want to say
We might
yes.
have to go
Very
over
much,
time
yes.
today, guys.
I'm gonna share our screen, and that way we could talk about the NAR topic. Okay, so for all of you guys that don't know what I'm referring to, if you guys haven't heard the news, there was a trial, okay, in Missouri, and it was regarding the National Associations of Realtors and a group of other brokers about the compensation of buyer's agent. All right. And I wanted to talk about this because I think it's very important for us to understand this trial and how, because of this verdict, where it's gonna lead the industry, especially for a lot of buyer's agent. If you guys don't know, let me just kind of give you guys like a quick some context of how a traditional transaction works and how an agent gets paid. Okay. So a seller puts a home on the market, and a seller normally typically pays a listing agent. And from there, the listing agent splits that commission 50-50, generally 5 to 6%, okay, total, and split that with the buyer's agent that brings in a buyer. That's why when you're working with an agent to buy a home, a lot of times that agent would say, hey, look, you're not paying for my commission, the seller is. And that is how it's been since, I believe, the 1940s. All right. So this verdict is requesting to change that now the seller no longer want to be the one to pay for the buyer's agent's commission, that instead they would prefer a buyer to pay the buyer's agent's commission instead. So, um, yeah, it's gonna get interesting. This topic is gonna draw a lot of eyeballs, and a lot of people's gonna say yay, nay. But I wanted to kind of give you guys my perspective on why everything is the way it is since the 1940s and why it works. And but then again, I might be wrong, so that's why we're talking about it today, so that way we can kind of hear everybody's perspective and go from there. But of course, this update was given on the 31st about the verdict, but I kind of want to go all the way down to kind of like the 15th of when they first resumed this case, because this case has been going on for a year and a half, I think. And it finally just, all of these things just started coming out recently. So I want to go more down so that way, because I think there was some topics that they spoke about that I think is pretty good. Okay. And I am going to share the link with everybody so that you guys can go and do your own reading too. So that way you guys don't have to take my word for it, word for word. It's on that link that I just put in the comment section. Okay. But let's just begin. All right. And if you guys have comments or anything about this, just put them in the section below. And then Lisa, Charles, you guys can interrupt me at any time to give your points. Okay. But I'm not gonna read through word for word. Okay, I'll let you guys do that on your own free time. But I'm just gonna go over topics that I think is good bringing up. Okay, so one of the things that happened that I wanted to kind of go over was a pretty good point. So on Tuesday, right, October 17th, plaintiffs, co-defendants, and NAR outside the counsel, Ethan Glass, presented opening remarks in the case of the Burnett versus National Association of Realtors. Glass noted that NAR, which is National Association of Realtors, NAR rules are made as part of a very public rule-making process and are persistently and publicly shared and available. The compensation rule ensures the buyer broker knows what they will be paid before they commence work and that buyers can afford representation. Okay. Again, this is a little odd why they say buyers can afford representation, because the buyers don't pay the commission of buyer's agent. The seller does. Okay. The plaintiffs, again, it's NAR, envision a world where there is no buyer's agent and buyers would have. Oh, no. The plaintiffs are the defendants are NAR. The plaintiffs is Burnett, the lawyer, and all these other sellers. Okay. So the plaintiffs envision a world where there is no buyer's agent and buyers would have to go it alone in what is the single most complex and significant purchase most people will make in their lifetime. I agree with this. Can you imagine buying a home? I mean, me and Lisa, we talk about this a lot on this show, to where if you are a buyer and you're going straight to the listing agent, let's say there is no buyer's agent, you got to go straight to the listing agent in order to buy a home. Let's say you do that. That listing agent is not going to represent you fully compared to how they're going to represent the seller, because they have a
Right.
fiduciary duty to their seller. The seller is paying them a listing commission, okay, to list the home. But in this regards, if a buyer goes straight to a listing agent now, they have no representation. Do you guys know how many times me and Lisa hear about clients that did that and had such a horrible experience, felt jaded because they didn't get full representation? Nobody was looking out for their best interest, didn't even order inspections, go over reports, go over disclosures with them. They just felt like, man, buying a home is such a frustrating process because nobody helped them through that. There's been many times me and Lisa share that on this live stream, right? And
Mhm.
I think that is true, you know? And so the plaintiffs, they're trying to rewind the time back to where there is no more buyer's agent because again, sellers feel they don't want to, they should not, or they should not be paying a buyer's agent's commission like how they've been doing for the past many decades since the 1940s. But it's so funny and ironic about that because sellers, before you become sellers, you were a buyer. So when you bought your home, you didn't have to pay a commission to your agent. But now that you're a seller, you don't want to pay that same commission that helped benefit you when you were a buyer. So for me, it's just kind of ironic that this is the case because I feel like it's like a rat race, right? They're fighting about this case, and then they're probably going to be that same seller that's going to be fighting another case in another decade saying, hey, man, I bought my new home and I didn't get full representation. Nuh-uh, we need buyer's agent to represent us.
Yeah.
Okay. So I feel like that's going to be the case. But again, I don't know, right? How do you guys feel about that?
Well, again, this goes back into the 70s. Like you said, the whole reason why there was buyer agents to begin with, so that the other party had less leeway to take advantage of home buyers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that one of I mean, from a lender's point of view, okay, just from a lender's point of view, I feel like whatever the fees are for realtors, they really should do it the same way that they do it for lenders. This is what you charge. This is all you're allowed to charge. That's it. Okay.
So
And
you say that. It's funny you say that
yeah,
because there is no fine bold print that says, hey, agents, you could only charge this much. It doesn't. Okay. Even though this is
exactly.
the national rate is 6%, most brokers, that commission is negotiable. Like a lot of common percentages I see here, at least in Sacramento, is 5%.
Yeah,
Two and
in
a half
there.
to the listing agent and 2.5% to the buyer's agent, right? So that's pretty typical around here. So even that can still be negotiated between the broker and the seller, right? I've seen 4%. I've seen 3% to where a listing agent is willing to do 1% listing and give the 2% to a buyer's agent, or vice versa, right? Buyer's
Right.
agent get 1% and they get 2%, you know?
Right.
So um yeah, it's interesting. And the next line, right? It says if a buyer had to pay out of pocket for representation, that will reduce the number of buyers and the money buyers have to purchase homes from sellers. I agree. A lot of buyers that are buying in the in a market, majority of first time home buyers. And majority of first time home buyers don't have 20% down. They majority of the time use 3 to 5, like the lowest down payment possible. Correct me if I'm wrong, Lisa. Like they usually use the lowest down payment possible to buy a home. So if they had to also pay for representation, that's also going to be more money now. That's going to take them even longer to be able to achieve that goal of becoming a homeowner now. Saving up to 5% or 20% or even just a down payment is already hard enough for a lot of first time home buyers.
It is. I mean, I just priced this out for another person today, guys. And a lot of times, when people put in 5 or 10%, you're doing this for typically 30 years. Okay. So that difference is not going to make that huge of a difference. So you're putting 10% down. I just priced one out for somebody that was looking for a home that was 520, and he was looking at either doing 10% or 5%. And when we priced it out, him buying down the rate to two, buying down the rate, buying even at 2 points and everything like that, which 2 points is 2% of whatever the loan amount is. It actually saved him cash out of pocket almost $20,000, and his monthly payment was pretty much the same. So when you do it that way,
Mm,
especially when you're first time home buyers, I will always advise, don't put all your eggs in one basket. If you have $50,000, it took you a while to get there. That's a
yeah.
wonderful, wonderful feat. If you put less down, put some money in your pocket, so that in the event that even after you buy these houses, that again, I have a buyer that's buying the house. She is going to opt for the higher home insurance right now. But I did advise her, hey, after all this happens and everything like that, when you have more time and everything, definitely get this situated. So Charles, I have somebody for you ready to go, and we'll take care of her in that way. And you want to have extra money to cushion for things like this too.
You do. You do. And so, like, imagine now having to add another layer of fees to your closing costs
Yeah.
as a buyer, as a first time home buyer. And I feel like the reason why the system, like the format right now, why it works to where it's been working since the 1940s, is because a solid, when you buy a home, right? It's true that it's easier for you to save money when you own a home already because you have equity, you have appreciation opportunities. A buyer doesn't have none of that, right? They just have their job. And when they just have their job, it's harder to save money to buy a home to get that opportunity to become a homeowner. But for a seller, you you become an owner now. And depending on how the market is doing, depending on how you do your upkeep and your maintenance on your home, is going to determine the equity that you're going to have on your home, which is going to be a lot easier than a first time home buyer. And that's why this system, I feel, works, because then now you bought the home utilizing a buyer's agent and not paying for that buyer's agent's commission when you owned it, okay? And then now you also have the opportunity to pay that forward for another first time home buyer, you know?
You nailed it right there, Chia. You nailed it right there. So if you guys think of it this way, when you become sellers after you purchase your home and everything, buyer, think of it this way. You as buyers, you are paying for your agent fees, but it's deferred. It's deferred until you sell your house. If you think of it that way,
Basically.
that makes it fair. Yeah.
Yes, think of it like that. And again, the system works, okay? So that's why it's been going on since the 1940s.
It's
Charles, you
implanted.
got any
I know the
input?
fee seems high. I know the fee seems high and everything like that. But trust me, these guys, they work so hard to earn your business, to do this in the first place. But it's also so that they can be properly licensed. They are held by a legal standard, so they have to know many things, and they should know many things. More so than the average public. And you want them to be incentivized to know these things to protect you as the consumer.
So again,
Right.
I don't want to feel. Oh, go ahead, Charles.
Well, I was going to say, I feel like the only way that this would work is this would have to be highly regulated, which, I mean, it's not like it's not already, but in order to protect buyers, because if buyers weren't able to pay for a buyer's agent to come in and help them, I feel like this might be the old school way of like used car salesman style. You know, you go into
Yes.
a car lot, and then the used car
Yep.
salesman just tells you all this crap, and oh yeah, da, 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 and then he's interested in that, and they can tell you all these fake things, and then you end up buying a car, right? And then you have nothing, nothing to go off of. And
Yeah.
not that I'm equating sellers agents to used car salesmen, but I'm saying that a seller's agent, unless they're regulated, they could do all kinds of different things. And
Right.
and again, there's no reason for that seller's agent to back that buyer at all, right? So you're going in there with no protection, and that is the problem. Is it's so important to have representation in these situations. So
Right. And it was
and
a
then
problem.
and
It
then
was a huge problem in the 70s.
It
Is the
was a
reason
yeah.
why we had
problem.
it in place to begin with. But because, it's been so long, right? People forget, and they're looking at more of the bottom lines. Like they're looking at, I was like, well, the net sheet is like, wow, my agent makes this much. I was like, no, 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 it's divided. Uncle Sam takes a chunk of that. Let's be
Right.
real here. And if you have a
Well,
brokerage
yeah,
firm,
let me just
hardly.
read this right here, okay? I kind of, while we were talking, I kind of went up a little
Mhm.
bit to now October 20th, okay? So on Thursday, October 20th, another seller member, okay? This is the plaintiff of the class, and the economics professor testified as plaintiff's witnesses, okay? And then they were saying, they basically went to the stand, and then this is just for the context, okay? So agent compensation is set between brokers and their clients, and has always been negotiable at any point in the transaction, which is true. Those costs are spelled out to the buyers and seller, which is true. And NAR doesn't tell people what to charge. They don't. The NAR Code of Ethics also requires members to advise clients about cooperation and amounts of compensation to be offered. That's true. As a listing agent, okay, when you go to get a seller to sign a listing agreement that you're going to list their home for you, They know, fully aware how much they're paying you on your commission and paying a buyer's agent if there was a buyer agent that brought a buyer to buy that home. They know. Okay. So it's all in black and white. And that is something every agent goes over with their seller, or should go. I know I do. Go over all of that with their sellers before they sign it, right? And despite what may be months or even years of work, agents only get paid when a home is sold. That is so true. So going back to what Lisa was saying, to some sellers that think that, oh man, this is too much, I'm not gonna want to pay for it. Buyer's agent work hard. Not to say that listing agents don't, okay? They do. But buyer's agent drive all over town for a buyer, not just to go through one home. Like, I don't know any agent that only shows their buyer 3 homes and you better make a decision. I think a lot of the general public feel like they watch a lot of HGTV and they go see these shows where the agent shows them 3 homes and it's like, okay, you got to make a decision on just one. But in reality, that agent showed that client like 100 homes, maybe even more, but they only highlighted 3 homes for the TV sake, right? Real life, that's how it works. We show a buyer hundreds of homes. Like sometimes, like I just had a client that closed a couple months ago, right? She's been with me for 6 years. She finally found a home. So imagine all the gas that I went through. Imagine all the time away from family that I went through. Imagine all the keys and homes that I showed her. And we finally found a home. You know, if I was to divide that commission on that home up to those 6 years that I was doing all that for her, I'm in the
Wait,
negative.
$2 an hour. $2
I
an
made,
hour.
I made 5 cents an hour, you know? So, like,
So
yeah, you know,
here's,
because
here's
your
what
car
I'm
is
gonna
break.
tell, back you up here, Tuccia. I mean, in our industry, right? Sometimes we have been in and we take clients and we take files that many people don't, right? But she and I, we
Right.
love the challenge, okay, guys? And we heard it before. It's like, wow, I don't know why the agent charges so much, where it took only 15 to 20 minutes for us to find a solution or find a house. We found the first house. Here's the thing. You're not paying for that 15 to 20 minutes. You're paying for the amount of experience, which not in years, not amount of experience in years, amount of how many transactions this agent has done and his agent has taken upon to be able
Expertise.
to come to a solution for you in 15 minutes, because they heard what you said. They knew your personality well.
Mhm.
They knew your spouse's personality well. And because they matched your personality so well, they were able to find that home for you on that first try. Okay. That doesn't
Yep.
mean you pay them for 15 minutes worth of work. You pay them for the experience that they've had to come to the conclusion to give you that solution in only 15 minutes, where it would have taken a rookie several times in several houses in order to get that to you.
That's right. You know, and there's so
Mhm.
much more cost that goes into it too, because then, you know, like kind of like this sentence right here, right? Because of this practice, sellers have access to the largest possible pool of buyers, and buyer gets access to the greatest number of homes for sale, called the MLS. Back in the day when there was no MLS, every agent in town had to keep track of every listing that came on the market in their little booklet. And
Yeah.
they didn't know about any new listing that hit the market because they didn't have internet or MLS or a website. Like, nobody knew that a home was for sale unless they were lucky enough, drove by and saw a for sale sign, you know. But now we have this kind of technology, and that did not come for free. There was a lot of engineering that went into that. Been a lot of laws and regulation that went into it, allow for the opportunities that we have now, you know. So I feel like the reason this is such a big deal right now to a lot of sellers is because right now it feels easy to sell a home.
Yeah.
And it should, right? Because you have a good agent that's made it look easy. Like what Lisa was
Correct.
saying, that agent went through so much experience, so they have a lot of expertise. That's why it made it
Correct.
seem easy, you know?
Correct. Correct.
And not
And
only that, but we also have access to tools now that helps us reach the vast majority of buyers to
that's
come to your home. you know?
Well, here's the thing too. It's like there are people out there that unfortunately they only do the bare minimal. They only get the bare technology, right? Where there's others in us that are all about technology because it's ever evolving and it's ever changing. Those costs can be so astronomical, right? And
Mhm.
a lot of times the public doesn't see that as well. So here's what I feel. If you are going directly to the listing agent and no knock on the listing agent at all, okay, guys, it's more of like, okay, if you're going into court, are you going to depend on the other party's attorney to represent you, or are you going to get your own? Okay, do you want to shortchange the Johnny Cochran of real estate, or are you going to pay the value of that so that they can say, oh, that water heater, it's about to be busted. I already asked for you. I already know that because the extent is the life of
Mm.
that is 10 years. Let's go ahead and ask for more credits for that to prepare you for that. Even though the loan will go through, even though the transaction will go through, let's go ahead and ask you for some more credits so that you can prepare for those changes. Wouldn't you want somebody that can visibly see that knows all these things, that knows what soot is, that knows what dry rot is, that knows what, hey, let's go down to let's go to the inspection. I know Chia always goes to inspection just to make sure so that he can learn a lot more and he can educate himself so that he can educate his clients.
Or I
You
call the inspector directly.
Yes, yes. And that's why we have Charles here too, right? You guys have a great relationship, which is a wonderful thing. And I always say this is a relationship situation. You have to have that relationship because this is the biggest purchase of most people's lives. You want to make sure that you're protected in these ways, don't you?
Mm-hmm. That is true. Mandy says 6 years. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Mandy. 6 years I was with that client and she finally found her forever home, you know?
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, I just closed one that was 5 years too, Chia. That was about a month ago. And back to the insurance thing, her insurance cut her. She was uninsured for 2 days. She had to scramble to find other insurance, and I felt
What?
so bad.
After
Yeah,
she got the home?
after she got the home. So guys,
What?
be very, very careful of that. Do not let it lapse. Go look for it right away. Um, yeah, it was just spick and span brand new. I'm so glad that she got her out, and we're all good on that part now. But
Yeah,
anything could
I feel
happen. Anything could happen during those 2 days, right, Charles?
that's true. I've
Yeah.
seen it. I've seen it. I've seen a tree fall in a rooftop of a kitchen of one of our first time home buyers days after moving in. Remember that,
I
Lisa?
know that. I know that. That was the whole
Yep.
situation when in Sacramento. We had this weird weather situation
Yeah.
in the second
Uh-huh.
quarter. Remember that, guys? And it put us in a FEMA situation where we're now a disaster area, and that's the whole reason why we don't have to. We have that tax extension until November 16th.
Yeah, I feel like this whole verdict thing, again, they're gonna be appealing this verdict already. They already sent us all a notification already, NAR. And so this case might go on for years. So we don't really know what's gonna really be decided. But this is definitely gonna change the industry a lot. And I wanted to bring it up and to everybody's attention so that way we could kind of uh brainstorm, right? And but at the same time also do understand like the value of a buyer's agent, okay, and why a seller has been paying for a buyer's agent from since the 1940s, okay, because it's a system that works, and I don't
It's
know,
the system
like
that works to make things fair for everybody, not just fair for one person.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, and there's a lot of like controversy on this topic right now. This is like a hot topic right now for a lot
it
of
is.
agents
It is.
about this
And
because like,
argument is this is not fair, right? It's not fair. We have to
right,
pay this much and stuff. Here's the thing. I know it's a really hard look, right? Because I just recently, sold our home too. So I understand. I understand greatly, guys. Okay. And it's like, are you looking for it to be fair for everybody or just for yourself?
right,
And in the
yeah. See,
circumstances, sure.
and that's the thing. It's so funny, right? Because in NAR, if you guys don't know what NAR is they're basically the ones that makes a regular real estate agent a realtor. So this logo, if I was not a part of the National Association of Realtors, I cannot wear this shirt. You know that? I could get fined for claiming that I am a realtor. Cause why is that? Because they make sure that before I sign up and pay my dues yearly, I have to take a code of ethics class every year, okay? And update myself. And if I don't do that, then I don't meet the requirements. I can't wear this logo that I'm a realtor. So there's a difference between a realtor and a real estate agent, okay? A real estate agent could be a person that only has their license as a real estate agent to sell real estate, but probably hasn't gone through the code of ethics course. Okay, not many brokers will accept that agent because many brokers I know are all members of realtors. Okay, and that means all of their agents under them also has to be a realtor as well in order to even sign up and park their license at a broker. All right, and there's many things that NAR do for us. A lot of times right now, this past week, what I've noticed is there was a lot of agents that were complaining that, oh yeah, now it's time for us to stop paying our dues to NAR. They charge too much fees for little things that they do. They do a lot. I think they do a lot for us because then they help with the car forms. They help regulate some of our contracts that we write for our clients, to make sure that everybody's protected. And
Mm-hmm.
like they make sure that we are treating our clients right by making us sign up for all these code of ethics class. And I feel like a lot
Mm-hmm.
of time these agents that have license, they're the sellers too. So because they already have a license and they know how to sell a home, they don't want to be paying for a buyer's agent commission. They would rather just keep it all to themselves. I get it. You choose your own poison. I get that. But I feel like a lot of these sellers are that type of sellers that they are already experienced selling homes, so they feel like they don't need the help of another buyer's agent to buy their home for them. Or I don't know, maybe times are tough. We are going through some tough times right now in the economy for everyone, and everybody's looking for an easy way out. So they're suing everyone now. And it's funny because at the same time this verdict was given, the same attorney, Burnett, filed a suit against three other big brokerages because he received his verdict in his favor. He goes, "Oh, I'm gonna go other. I'm gonna go up against another big broker name now too. EXP is one of them. Compass is one of them. NAR, of course, is also gonna be on that stand again too because they're NAR, right? So it's gonna be interesting because now with this verdict, it's opening up a big can of worms potentially. So it's gonna be interesting to see what this verdict is gonna change in the industry for the years to come. You know,
It,
I feel
it's funny because a lot of people are saying, "It's like, well, it's tough right now for a lot of realtor professionals." Okay,
yeah, it is.
and it's already discouraging to so many in the industry already. So can you imagine, just as a public eye, can you imagine? Okay, well, if the listing agent can't sell because there's no money for the buyers and no buyer agents, they're going to have to do double duty. They're going to have to actually list the property, then go out there and get the clients to come in. It's going to be
Right.
quite exhausting, right? And then if this case wins, who's to say? I was like, well, okay, they're doing double work, but now they're getting their pay cut. Well, then eventually, I mean, this industry burns so many people out already. I can only imagine, okay, then there's going to be fewer and fewer real estate professionals. And it goes back to people just selling houses to each other, which again can be pretty ideal, right? Because there's no fees and everything like that. Now you got two parties that don't have the experience or the know-how into the nuances of buying a house. And you think that's
It's
not
just
going to
gonna
cause more
be
chaos?
it's just gonna be Fizbos all over again. Like
All over, and that's not gonna cause more chaos. I don't know about that, right? I mean, a lot of times you see these cases and there's foreclosures and these issues. It's typically because they didn't go through a third party to vouch for them, to be their eyes and ears for them.
yeah, and like if you guys, I wish I would have had the data, but I'm gonna close it out right here because we're way over. I apologize in advance, but I wish I had a chart to show you guys. But sellers that choose to sell their home by themselves, even without a listing agent or buyer agent, they have a hard time selling their home. It sits
Yeah.
on the market for a long time. Okay. So, like, I'll just go here. Okay. So that way you guys can see. Oh, shoot. You know what? It's going to have to be for another day. I do not want to take too much of everybody's time because it is 8:26 and we got to go back to our families. But I guess that's a good way to close it up, huh? I mean, if you guys agree with this verdict, don't agree with the verdict, or want to know more about this verdict, like, let us know in the comment section. We would love to hear your opinions, and maybe do a part 2 of this. I don't know, but this is like the hot topic right now for all agents this
This is
week.
good stuff. I learned something today, guys. I love it.
So yeah, everything we hear or any updates in the industry, we're gonna bring to you guys. So I'm just glad that everybody was on the show today and all your comments and all that. So I appreciate you guys. Charles, anything to add? No, if not, we're just gonna close it out.
Yay.
Okay. Well, you guys have a good night, Chi fams. Thank you again for joining us today. We will see you guys next time. All right. Peace out now.